Inside a commercial bakery, a worker leans over an active industrial dough mixer with loose clothing. Within seconds, the rotating agitator catches the fabric. Avoid leaning over exposed rotating machinery while wearing loose clothing, open jackets, or dangling accessories. At a storage yard, a worker stands behind an unsecured stack of concrete blocks as a truck reverses nearby. A nearby contact causes the entire stack to shift unexpectedly. Do not stand within the risk zone of unbanded heavy materials while vehicles are operating nearby. A freestanding stack of concrete has no lateral support, so even a minor impact can cause a significant material shift. Set a strict exclusion zone around stacked materials and require a ground spotter whenever trucks are reversing in tight spaces. Drivers cannot see through solid obstacles, and standing behind an unstable load puts you completely outside their view. Never assume a driver knows where you are, because one small bump can cause a serious load instability event. Inside an auto repair shop, mechanics gather under a raised SUV on a lift. Without warning, the improperly balanced vehicle shifts out of stable alignment on its supports. Never place yourself under a raised vehicle until the lift arms are fully locked and correctly aligned with the manufacturer's jacking points. Ignoring the vehicle's balance can turn a routine inspection into a serious stability hazard. Always perform a low-height shake test before raising a vehicle to full working height. Double-check arm restraints and pad placement instead of assuming the lift is secure. Taking a few extra seconds to confirm stability is far safer than assuming everything is secure under a very heavy vehicle and lift system. Inside a multi-story building, a worker loads a makeshift service elevator beyond its limit. The overloaded hoist suddenly loses stable support and moves downward unexpectedly. Do not use a makeshift or uncertified service lift to move excessive or unweighed heavy materials, such as firewood or construction supplies. Overloading a basic hoist can cause serious equipment failure and a serious elevation hazard. Follow the rated weight limits of every elevator or lifting system, and never ride in a hoist meant only for light goods. Support failure can happen quickly, and without an emergency braking system, the load may descend unexpectedly. At a gas station, a man steps into the narrow gap between a turning truck and his parked car. He misjudges the space as the clearance narrows rapidly. Do not use your body as a barrier to protect a vehicle or property from a moving vehicle contact. Stepping into the blind, tight clearance area between a truck and a fixed object can leave you with no safe exit path as the available space narrows. Always choose human safety over property damage. A truck driver cannot see every tight angle during a turn, which makes any attempt to intervene nearly invisible. Vehicles can be repaired, but stepping between a moving vehicle and a stationary object is a risk no one should take. At a construction site, a worker shovels directly below an active upper level. An item drops from above unexpectedly. Do not allow anyone to work directly below an elevated active work site without a barricaded exclusion zone. Without overhead protection, even ordinary tools can become serious overhead hazards. Use tow boards on elevated platforms and require hard hats for everyone within the hazard zone. Objects falling from above can gain force quickly, and one mistake above can become a serious contact hazard below. At a loading zone, a motorcyclist moves into the swing radius of a truck-mounted crane. The grapple descends at the same moment. Do not walk or ride into the active loading radius of heavy equipment without first making direct eye contact with the operator. Entering the active equipment zone within the boom area places you too close to active equipment movement. Install high-visibility barricades around loading zones to stop unauthorized entry into the machine's operating footprint. Operators lose sight of the ground directly below a descending boom, so anyone in that blind spot can be contacted. Without warning, trying to slip past an active loading arm is a dangerous shortcut around a machine capable of creating serious contact risk. At a busy warehouse loading dock, a distracted worker steps into an active forklift lane. The machine continues into the travel path before he can clear the area safely. Move through live industrial traffic zones only with clear forward visibility and constant situational awareness. Walking backward or failing to scan your surroundings near forklifts can turn an ordinary walkway into a high-risk area. Stay within marked pedestrian paths and make direct eye contact with machinery operators before crossing. On a narrow commercial street, an overloaded truck contacts an overhead hazard. The impact causes its cargo to begin to produce heat and smoke under unstable conditions. Do not attempt to manually offload or dismantle heated synthetic cargo to save a vehicle. Materials like expanded polystyrene can soften, collapse, and spread as unstable softened material that can increase risk for anyone nearby. When a heat and smoke incident involving foam or chemical-based cargo escalates, evacuation must come before property protection. Proper route planning and clearance awareness are the first defenses against this kind of incident onset. Once the load is compromised, any attempt to intervene exposes workers to heavy smoke conditions, unstable surroundings, and rapidly worsening hazardous conditions. At an extraction site, a worker handles a high-pressure hose, releasing a powerful flow. A sudden disconnection creates sudden hose movement. Never attempt to lift, reposition, or straddle a high-pressure hose while the pumping system is still energized. A sudden coupling failure can generate enough force to throw a worker off balance or pull them toward the risk area. Always shut down the pump and fully bleed line pressure before moving or adjusting heavy hoses. Inspect couplings, clamps, and locking points carefully before starting flow, and keep everyone clear of the discharge and line movement zone. Pressure-controlled systems must be treated as active hazards until fully isolated. At a busy materials yard, a pedestrian crosses an active forklift lane. The operator continues forward without full path awareness. Do not drive a forklift through a shared workspace without maintaining forward focus and active awareness of pedestrians. Even a straight path becomes unsafe when attention slips. Use designated pedestrian lanes and make sure workers establish eye contact with operators before crossing. Even an unloaded forklift has enough mass to create a serious equipment contact risk, so distraction is just as unsafe as an obstructed view. In this stone yard, a forklift operator tries to unload a heavy block over the side of a truck, but the load catches, twists, and comes down beside the vehicle. Do not try to unload a bulky loose load from standard forklift tines by sharply tilting. The mast forward. Forks are built to carry stable loads, not to act like a dump bucket. To prevent this, operators must use the correct attachment for loose or irregular material, such as a self-dumping hopper or rotating grab. They should never try to shake or flick a heavy load off elevated forks. Once a load leaves the tines, its path is no longer under control.